So today I want to talk about something that can be a little bit difficult to admit, something that can be hard for a man to tell even a close friend or a brother or family, much less telling a lawyer or a judge or a jury. It's just talking about if your wife is a bully, emotionally or physically. But there are some signs you can tell. I've actually been through this before. So there are some signs that you can look for to at least tell if your wife or your girlfriend is an emotional bully. And then with a closer look, maybe with some conversations, you can help somebody and find out if they're being physically abused too. If you know they're being emotionally abused intensely enough, then you can look for the signs. And a lot of times you can tell the physical signs will be there if you're aware of them. They were for me. That's how a few of my family members and friends knew what was happening with my situation. But one of them, we'll just jump right in. One of them is name calling. And this isn't sometimes it's not as obvious, it's not as clear cut as it might sound. But in an argument or an intense disagreement, let's say, there's healthy arguments where you might tell somebody they're acting selfish. That's not name calling. Acting selfish and calling somebody a selfish ass or even something that intense isn't necessarily name calling. What I'm talking about are labels that leave a brand on your soul. Like, I've never been called a loser in my life until I had my emotionally and physically abusive wife. And she would do that. She'd find whatever word she thought would hurt the most. And when you're in a loving relationship, even if you're in an argument, there are certain things you got to steer away from because you don't want to ruin something long term. But if you're with a bully, they'll go for that one thing that they know will cripple you, hurt you, rip open a scar that's already there the most. And they'll say it with intensity. They'll say it with almost a fire of hate in their eyes. And a lot of times they won't even apologize for it. That's number two. They'll tend to, it's a traditional explanation of they'll blame you. Like my ex-wife would say a lot, nobody makes me as mad as you. I know I say some horrible things. I know I do things I shouldn't do, but nobody makes me that mad. I've never done that before because nobody's ever made me as mad as you make me. So you end up apologizing for what you've done, what you said, and then you apologize for making them so mad that they hurt you. So in other words, everybody's pain is your fault. Another thing is controlling. So an abusive and bullying relationship, your vacation time is going to be their vacation time. Your free time is going to be whatever she decides your free time is. Your days off will a lot of times be filled up with her to-do list. I remember I started off saying, hey, just tell me what you want me to do and I'll knock it out for you. Because I thought acts of service would let her know that I cared about her. Well, those lists never ended. So I could have a couple of days off and spend from waking up to going to bed just doing what I knew she wanted me to do, going by whatever list. She'd just keep adding things. And at the end of it all, I never got it all finished, and she would remind me that I didn't do what I said I was going to do. So, if that sounds familiar. Another thing is they're manipulators of pity. So they expect your sympathy, and if you don't give them sympathy, then they'll remind you that you don't care enough about how they feel. They'll guilt you into feeling bad for them. They'll mope. They do the sad routine. And that's your cue to go after them, to make sure they're okay, to get them to open up, and then you respond in the way that they want you to respond. But they don't give you much pity. They want you to just suck it up. They want you to be tough. They expect you to just handle whatever the world throws at you and shake it off because it's probably your fault. And then they'll throw in a little bit of tough love too. They'll even remind you of mistakes. There have been times when you might come home from a hard day, and if you know you're coming home from a hard day or something hard, difficult, some unforeseen, painful thing happened. One time, my grandmother died, and I distinctly remember I was driving home, thinking I was about to tell my wife that my grandmother died, and I knew she was going to make it worse. I knew no matter how much I was crying, no matter how much it hurt, it was going to hurt more when she found out. And it was one of the worst nights of my life. Another thing they do is they disconnect. So if you ask to do something that's totally reasonable, maybe they just spent the weekend with their friends. Maybe you just spent the week of vacation at her family's house. and now you want to go have family dinner at your parents' house. I'm just making an example up, but she doesn't want to go. You might say, well, do you mind if I go? Or is it okay if I go to the game with my buddy? Hey, Tim called. Tim wants to know if I can go to the game. Haven't done anything in a while. I could really use some time just to vent, have a little bit of fun. Do you care if I go? They'll say something like this: you should. I think you should do what you wanted to. And then it hangs in the air. That's an emotional threat. That means what you do on this particular occasion will be evidence of what you love and anything else you don't love. So in other words, if you go to the game, she's going to take that as evidence that you don't love her, that you love time with your friend, that you love basketball or football. And somehow that counts as evidence that you don't love her at all. They're very all or nothing situation creators, because it helps manipulate them. They'll tell you what your words mean. I just want to go out and spend some time with my friends. So you don't want to spend time with me? No, that's not what I said. I just really need to have some fun. So you don't have fun with me? No, I just need to talk to my buddy. I've known him for years. So you don't want to talk to me? Why didn't you marry him? Or why did you marry me at all? They're very much into comparisons. And then they use that to guilt you or to mold you and even when you know it's happening, sometimes just out of exhaustion, it works because you just think, I know this isn't true. I know I'm being manipulated, but maybe she believes it. So I'll do it. And then at least she'll know I love her. And at least I can stop being tormented by this whole situation. So it's like a win. So you do it. And then you're in real trouble. Another thing, you just kind of know some things. Here's some things that you'll know instinctively. And these are clues that you're in a bully relationship with your wife or girlfriend. You won't disagree with her in front of people. Even if it's your friends, if it's your family. You know if she says something, and it can be something just ridiculous. It can be something just blatantly stupid. Like she might say, I think The Force Awakens is the greatest Star Wars movie ever. And you're with your friends and you all look at each other and you're all thinking, well, that's just wrong. Or it could be something more serious. It could be like, I think the Jonas Brothers are the greatest rock band ever. And if you don't jump in and say, well, but they do. They have a good sound. They practice a lot. They're family, so I think they just have a really nice blend. Whatever it is. She could say, I had my sister-in-law one time. I said something about a politician, and I said, I think she's a practicing witch. And I was making a dumb joke, and my sister-in-law said, well, she could be a practicing witch. That doesn't mean that she's a bad person. And I looked at my brother, and my brother looked at me, and he said, well, because there are a lot of people that are practicing Wiccans, and they're good people. That wasn't my point. I was clearly making a joke. So you know, if you've been in this situation, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's kind of the normal thing. Another thing is, not to ask certain things. Like if your buddy says, "Hey, we're going to the game on Thursday. Do you want to go?" You might look around, and you're kind of hoping she's not in the room, but you'll be excited. But I want to go. Yeah, don't say anything right now. Let me talk to her. Because what you're trying to do in your mind is set up a situation. You're trying to think of a way that you can bring it up. You're waiting for a moment where she needs a favor, or you're hoping and praying that she'll have something she wants to do that night. And then this just happens to fall into place, so it'll be her idea. So if she says, hey, I want to go hang out with my friends, you can go, well, okay, I'll find something to do then. And then it's okay. But you're not allowed to be the first one to bring it up. So that's how you know. In that particular area, you're in a bullying relationship with your wife. Another thing is if you have a failure, if you get laid off, if you don't get a promotion, if you get a speeding ticket, if you get a flat tire, if you have a bad day, if you get sick and you have to miss a scheduled vacation or a day off, if something in life happens that's already hard for you, that hurts, that just knocks you down a little bit, and you have this sense of dread that when she finds out, it's going to be worse. She's not going to encourage you through it. she's going to beat you down for it. She's going to use it to remind you that you're not who you hope you are. She thinks you're who you're afraid you are, if that makes sense. You want the person you're with to see you as the person you most hope you are. Not rose-colored glasses, but you want them to see you with the belief that they know what you're capable of. They know your potential, and they see your intention. They see your heart. So they encourage you. They believe in you. And it gives you encouragement to get there, to be a little bit better. If you're in a bullying relationship, what happens is you start to feel like you're the worst version of yourself, the person and the version of you that you really hope you're not. And you have a bottom line sense of shame in who you are, instead of a bottom line sense of potential and a bottom line sense of hope, pride, respect, self-respect. So those are a few of the things. It can be very hard to get over. It can be hard to accept. It can be one of those things that's really hard to accept because you've been in this role for so long. You're used to playing the defender and the protector. You're used to redefining whatever she says and does and finding the best reason for it. And presenting her in a light to your family and your friends that protects her. So that becomes your identity. That becomes your role. You're her protector. And you can fall into that for so long that even if it means that you're a believer in your own failures, it just feels more natural. So anyway, it's a general sense, it's a general spirit that you just know when you're in it. And if you go to sleep with a sense of dread and a sense of hurt and a sense of failure every night, and you wake up with a knot of dread in your stomach, with a knot of disappointment in who you are, that says a lot about who you were. So take it from me, take a close look at your life, take a close look at how you feel in the morning when you wake up, the first thought, the first sense of your day, the first sense of who you are. And then remember how you feel when you're going to bed at night, when you close your eyes and you're next to that person that is supposed to see the best you in you. And be aware of how you feel about yourself when you look at yourself through their eyes. If you're always disappointed, if you're always ashamed, if you always hope for more, if you always just feel disappointed in yourself and who you are and how you're seen, because you're looking at yourself through their eyes, stop and think about it. You're probably not with the right person. And if they won't listen to you, that's the last thing. If they won't listen to what you say, because bottom line, you know ultimately, they won't take any responsibility for how they've made you feel, but they hold you responsible for everything they feel, then you're in a bad relationship. That's at least an emotional bully. And sooner or later, that's probably going to turn into a physical bully too, because they just eventually don't see any boundaries for how they treat you. And it's certainly not going to be any sense of respect for you that's going to make them stop. So, anyway, if this has been of any use to you, please give me a like, share, a comment below. I also have a tip jar if you feel like it and any value that you think this video may have given you. If you want to return that value to me, I would appreciate it. If not, thanks for your time, and I'll be back with some more content soon. All right, bye.